Bible that talks about this prodigal son. The key to the whole thing was when he found himself completely lost, the only way for him to get back to what he had lost in the beginning was to return to his righteous ways. That is our salvation in this country, to return back to the Constitution. And everybody keeps talking about, well, I can fix it this way, I can fix it that way. If we don't get back to our founding document, the foundation that made this country great, we won't fix anything if we keep allowing people to compromise on the Constitution. And that even goes down to how they elect judges. Because again, they elect judges that they feel will benefit their policies. And what's the problem with most policies? They violate our Constitution. The Farm Bill, for instance, has welfare attached to it. We all know that the food stamp program, which is part of welfare, that is not covered by our Constitution. The federal government doesn't have the right to redistribute the wealth of anybody. Period. But why did it tie to the Farm Bill? Because we know we need farmers. So if we hold up what's happening with the farmers, we get to hamstring them and make them let us keep what we got with the food stamp program. So this way, the conservatives keep the farmers supporting them, and the liberals keep those that are looking for a handout from the government supporting them, so they marry the two programs together. And that's how they convolute our system. Not talking all the way around the mountain about the judges, but the mindset of the corruption of the process is regardless. And in short, my answer to all of it is to follow the Constitution. Now I know that might be a little too simple for some folks, because some people like real complicated answers. But I told them all, this stuff ain't that hard. It ain't that hard. And the complication is not that complicated to grasp and understand. We have let our states give the federal government power over the states that they shouldn't have. Department of Education, EPA, Common Core. I can go on and on and on and on and on. We've let them do that. But people will look at me and say, well, you just don't have a chance of winning. So I'm going to have to go for the person that I think had the best chance of winning. And that's the person that is compromising already on your liberties and your freedoms and on the Constitution. If you compromise on your votes, you will end up with compromised liberties and freedoms.
I've been saying that for years. Vote your conscience.
Right now, we
person you believe is going to do the right thing. That person will get elected.
We've had several GOP legislators in the news circuits telling us that they don't have standing, senators telling us that they don't have standing to stand up against the overreach of executive orders from the president.
That's dark.
How do we, if we've got a senator or senators that are being advised by Senate legal counsel that they don't have standing, what do we do? How do we count on our senators to stop the overreach, regardless of party, of the presidency of the United States?
First off, we have our Constitution, which lays out the powers, what they can't do to us. If the president signs an executive order that's in violation to that, that's standing. Our Constitution is clear. The president can't declare war, can't go to war. How do they circumvent that? War Powers Act. That's how they circumvent it. But if the people in the House and Senate were willing to go against the War Powers Act, which they could have because it violates our Constitution, because it's circumvented, they could have stopped it. But this is the point that folk are not getting. They don't want to stop it. That's why they're telling you they don't have standing. They do have standing. They don't want to fight it because they like it the way it is. They like it that way. They're not trying to fix it. And the only way that it's going to get fixed is if you find people that are literally willing to die to expose the corruption. And when I signed up for the Navy, I remember reading that contract, because I read all contracts I signed. When I got down to that part about I got to be willing to die for the country, it gave me a moment of pause. And in the end, I said, I'm willing to die for my country. and I went on and joined the military. I'm willing to die to expose the corruption. Because I want there to be something for us, and I want there to be something for our children and their children. And unless somebody stands up and is willing to shed blood, none of this is going to change. This is going to stay this way. Now some folks get mad with me when I tell them, but at least I tell you because I want you to know what you're getting. I wrote Ron Pauline in 2012 because I was not going to be complicit in what we have going on right now. Let's give you some examples about our at the local level. We'll give you two. The ad valorem or the birthday tax. They presented it to the people. We're going to get rid of that. You'll pay tax one time when you buy your milk, and just $20 every year to get the decal. What they didn't tell you was they expanded government by now inserting themselves in the private motor vehicle sales between individuals, something that they did not used to have, thus increasing the amount of money that they collect and expanding their reach into our lives. They didn't tell you that. They told you what they thought you would want to hear. Okay? There's another issue that we had with the federal government. The federal government pretended that they shut the government down. Now we elect our representatives to go and do the business of the people. Why are they shutting the government down? Oh, but the government wasn't really shut down because they were still checking you at the airports. Every congressman and senator still collected their paycheck. But the federal employees that work for the federal government, they weren't getting paid. They didn't get paid for 3 weeks. But those 535 people, they still got their paychecks. And that's how things work. But we let that go there because we won't stand up.
Like any criminals, just still take the damn capital to be done.
If capitalism will do us any good, we need to unite behind the capital. As a state, we need to do
Well, Senate Bill 290.
federal capital.
Yeah, the federal capital, not the state capital, federal capital.
If you threaten to expose them, they will change what they do.
Yeah, I had it.
That's all right. Y'all do what y'all ready to order.
Nothing, he's against eating.
You try this way too?
Hey, I gotta watch my girlish figure.
I had a couple months ago, we had a Black Hawk helicopter flying over my house by the height of the trees. Flying real low, and the guy banked so sharp I could see both the pilots in the cockpit come around like this.
Yeah, but it's
So I called Charlotte Nash. And what, my neighbor next door was burning a burn barrel. So I called Charlotte. She said, I don't know, Mike, let me check on it. So I called the Briscoe Field. The guy said, well, I don't know if you know or not. There's probably going to the National Guard. I said, really? He said, yeah, the DEA pays them to fly over houses with FLIR. He said they can see you inside your house walking around with FLIR. And they go around looking for grow houses, people growing dough. But he said they can see you walking inside your house.
forward looking infrared radar.
Yes.
I've seen drones out.
I mean, this guy was, and what the guy at the airport said, he probably saw a hot spot on his FLIR. The guy with a burn barrel, and he flew over it. And I got a 2-car garage out back, and he was hovering over my garage. And I told Sean in an email, I said, I started loading my shit up there. Because I could see the 2 jet engines right there in the back. I mean, he was right there. I'm just blowing my trees.
Posse Comitatus and
Yeah.
martial law.
First off, Posse Comitatus was designed to protect us from the federal government. But we all know that that is being circumvented. by the Patriot Act. What the government has been doing is systematically putting in place provisions that will allow them, under martial law, if enacted, to wipe away all of the constitutional protections that we have in place. In fact, it will allow them to do what Lincoln did during the Civil War. That's all that is. They're just making it legal. And we just keep sitting back and voting for the same people, thinking that they're working for us because they claim that they're the real conservatives.
Doesn't that kind of support what you're saying about NDAA? Didn't that also take away some of that?
Yes, all foundational things that need to be in place to make, under the guise of it is illegal for us to engage in this activity.
I heard a rumor that they actually repealed posse comitatus law.
Now see, I don't know, I haven't seen anything about them repealing it.
Yeah, I have seen.
If posse comitatus was repealed, we wouldn't have needed many of the provisions in the Patriot Act.
Maybe be effective. Maybe it's effectively repealed because it's been watered down and legislated into.
Actually, until they move forward, maybe something will want to
There's not signed in.
insert that.
Somebody made it.
I think the Constitution don't have. Then it's going to go, but it's still in place.
Two names missing.
Periodically, it shows they're choosing to grow.
I advise.
Get two moles.
Who's the two more? Well, two more.
We still have an opportunity to affect change. I'm not saying don't arm up.
Oh, yeah.
I'm saying we still have an opportunity to affect change. Don't take that. Everybody's sitting out here. I have a much better chance of winning if you talk to your friends and like I have a much better chance of winning. And I'm gonna tell you something. I don't hem, haw, or hedge. And that may be, we won't agree on 100% of everything. I'm just gonna tell you straight up right now. I'm not trying to please everybody because I can't, it is impossible. But I am telling you, I will support the Constitution 100% of the time and 100% of the Constitution. That I promise you I will do. And when I violate it, it ain't that hard to figure out if I violate it. It'll be easy. You can then call me on it and ask me to resign, and I will. Nobody else can go on record saying what I'm saying. Because that is how committed I am to our liberties and our constitutional freedoms. I want the government to get the hell out of my way. I want them to leave me alone. And I want them to allow states to determine what is best for its residents according to the rule of law in their own constitution, which is the way it was laid out in the beginning. Not the federal government and their continued and ever-expanding overreach into the lives of the American people. And that's just the bottom line. And again, until we return back to that righteousness, we will continue to get further and further lost. Now, I have said to groups, if you call around and call people with Monsanto, in Feburary, that what they will tell you. As a candidate, I have never asked a single group for any money, and I'm not asking you for it. Why? Because I support what you guys do simply because I believe in it. Because I believe in it. I don't want your money, I need your support. I need you to talk to other folks. Now I'll sell myself, but I need you to get them to open up the ears to at least hear what it is I'm talking about. I'll do the heavy lifting myself. But you got to open the door for me. You know, a lot of folks, I want y'all to have a right to be left alone too. And I want everybody to have equal access and equal opportunity. I feel that with equal access and equal opportunity for everybody, that's a win-win. but we got to get the government up out of it. And I'm willing to name names. See, I'll tell you who's sticking to you, so you'll know which trash needs to be taken out. One of my opponents came to me and revealed to me the machine is already picked. They want y'all's next senator to be. Jack Kingston.
Absolutely.
Why do they want Jack Kingston to be the next senator? Because he's big on military industrial complex. What do we engage mostly in as far as money-making venture goes outside of this country? War. War is money. Eisenhower warned us about the military industrial complex. Kingston always talked about, I want us to have a strong military, I want the best bullets, the best. How in the hell can you talk about you want a strong military when we got soldiers that's committing suicide at a higher rate than civilians? When we got veterans homeless on the streets? When we have guys that spend years trying to get adequate medical attention? He never mentions that, but he always talks about a strong military. Your military can't be strong if the weakest link are left to rot. I said if you want to take care of the troops first, hell, they could win a war with the jawbone of an ass. Based on morale alone, then you got a strong military.
Speak to the size of the military form.
Our military should be for the protection of our borders. That is sufficient. We have treaties to help us with our allies, but we should not be funding wars. Israel needs to stand on their own because they're surely capable of doing it. I'm not saying we shouldn't have allies. What I am saying is we should be meddling in other people's business. Let them settle their own affairs, and when the dust settles, it is what it is. And if we have allies, we borrow money from China, right? China is we have a treaty with Taiwan. Okay? China funds, if China, we have a treaty that if China crosses, I forget what river it is, we have to go over and aid Taiwan. But we got to borrow the money from China to go aid to. What kind of sense is that? That's the kind of never-ending cycle that we have with our government. But these are the types of things that you won't hear about. Here's something else that blew my mind. I went to a training class in D.C. This was when they were talking about the shutdown. Now, we sitting in class with these analysts that came over to talk to us about the economy. And at the end of the class, the guy said, well, whether you realize it or not, they can't defund Obamacare. I said, oh, what are you talking about? They can't defund Obamacare. He said, whenever we pass legislation, it is passed under one of two provisions or a combination of both. Mandatory spending and discretionary spending. I say, why don't you break that down for me? The bulk of Obamacare was passed and provided for under mandatory spending. Small portion of it under discretionary spending, meaning discretionary, they don't have to spend it if they don't want to. They ain't got to fund that piece if they, for whatever reason, decide that they don't want to. But the mandatory piece, you can't defund that because one, Obamacare is now the law of the land, and two, if they pass any budget, the amount that's allotted for Obamacare has to be covered. He said, so that exercise about shutting down the government over Obamacare was just smoke and mirrors. Why? So that you would think that they were up there working for you and you will vote for them again come 2014. Do I like Obamacare? No. But I'm the only person that was saying when Hillary Care failed, GOP, you got an opportunity. Let's fix our issues. Let's try and find solutions for the folk that have pre-existing conditions and can't get coverage. Let's deal with the people that leave their job and want to take their insurance with them, portability. Let's deal with all the fraud. It's causing people to not even want to see you or do all kind of tests just to cover their butt so they don't get sued. Let's deal with all of this.